Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another Tech.eu interview. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by Andrea Marliere. She's the CEO of Accesa and Raro, which is a duo of Romanian technology solutions companies that were both acquired by the German IT group Ratiodata, itself part of Atruvia, back in November 2020, I believe. So that's getting close to 2 years ago. 3 years ago, sorry. That acquisition actually came after a few years of intense collaboration with Accesa supporting Ratiodata's digitalisation strategy and the development of a number of technology solutions in partnership. Today, we're going to talk a bit about the backstory behind that acquisition, the big differences between IT outsourcing and nearshoring, which I didn't really know existed, but now I know a lot about. Discuss a number of case studies that highlight the many benefits of nearshoring, and also formulate some tips and tricks for using nearshoring in other organizations as part of an overall business strategy. Andrea, massive thank you for taking the time, and I'm quite looking forward to learning more about these topics along with our audience.
Hey, Robin, thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Where are you calling in from, by the way?
Right now I'm in Cluj, so I recently arrived this night from Germany. I was on a customer visit, but I'm living in Cluj. I'm living in Romania since roughly 4 years already. And in the background, you see it's kind of a poster of Piazza Uniri, which is the central place in Cluj.
Great. And I absolutely love Cluj, and I hope to be back in August for the Untold Festival. I'm really going to try.
Untold. Perfect.
Yes.
One of the good reasons to come to Cluj, definitely.
Absolutely. So first of all, maybe Andrea, can you tell us how you ended up becoming part of Accesa and how Accesa actually ended up becoming part of the Germany-based Ratiodata, itself part of Atruvia, as I mentioned?
So thank you for asking me. It's a little bit on adventurous journey. So I think it was back in 2017 when Ratiodata started working together with Accesa. Accesa at that time was an IT service provider run and founded by a Romanian engineer. And the collaboration started to be quite successful, but it was still remote. And at that time, I have a consulting background. I was consulting Ratiodata. And they asked me, hey, Andrea, I think that was roughly beginning of 2019. Could you imagine to go for a couple of maybe months to Cluj and do some kind of program management? And honestly, I was really curious. I've never been in Romania before. So I decided, okay, why not? So I came to Cluj. I fell in love with Cluj and its people on first sight, and I loved doing my job as a program manager, as an external. After a while, Ratiodata came again and said, well, we are working already since so many since so many years together with Accesa. We would like to, together with Accesa, found a joint venture. And because we are spending more and more money also in Romania, and why not having our own company? Together with Accesa, because we don't dare to ramp it up all alone. You need to be, let's say, kind of local. You need to know how it works. Again, they asked me if I could imagine to stay and ramp up that joint venture. I agreed because at that time I already decided to even leave Germany to stay in Romania. Let's see, forever, maybe. And end of 2019, I took the first steps founding that company. And guess what? March 2020, all out of a sudden, with the shutdown also here in Romania, it was quite tricky to found a new company at that time. Somehow I managed also because I found some Romanian now colleagues, and with them together, we started that really adventurous journey. And I think we were already 30, 40 people on board being hired for Raro. Raro at that time stood for Ratiodata Accesa Romania. The former founder of Accesa decided to bring Accesa on the market. And of course, Ratiodata was kind of in a privileged situation. I already knowing Accesa here. We had a due diligence, and then finally Ratiodata made an offer, and since then Raro and Accesa belong to Ratiodata, and I'm the CEO. The reason, and this is the interesting thing, and I guess this is also of interest for many of those who might listen to our podcast, The reason behind is that more and more companies from the DACH region, or let's say Western European countries, they all are looking for nearshoring, but they don't know how to handle this. And running your own company here, of course, is a temptation. On the other hand side, you need to know what to do, and you cannot do it without someone who really knows the Romanian market. So that was at that point the time the reason why Ratiodata thought it's a great idea to do this acquisition. That was also one of the biggest acquisitions they ever did. And what is important to know, and also you mentioned it already, Ratiodata, most of the companies, at least in Germany, never heard about Ratiodata because they belong to a group of companies that you call, it's a horrible word, Genossenschaftlicher Finanzverbund. It's difficult to explain. These are all the companies that belong to the Volks- and Raiffeisenbanken in Germany. So, and Ratiodata is one of those companies which are part of this association of companies that belong to the VR Banken. So, and the idea was from beginning on to use Accesa and the talents here in Romania to better support IT development and managed services for the group, for the Volks- and Raiffeisenbanken in Germany.
Great. Well, that's a fantastic summary of what happened with the acquisition. Now let's fast forward to today. At present, Accesa has more than 1,200 IT professionals on the team,
Yes.
which is quite a lot, servicing more than 70 clients globally from your headquarters in Cluj-Napoca, which is the background that you can see on your screen. We also have offices in Munich and Oradea, among others. Now, the company's been around almost 2 decades, currently offers a wide array of technology competences and partnerships, providing the likes of services, software development, cloud solutions, automation, AI, of course, which is a big topic these days, but also e-commerce, intelligence workplace solutions, and much, much more. That's quite a long list of competencies. So I'm wondering, when people ask you to sort of explain what Accesa does in a nutshell, what's your answer? What's the elevator pitch?
Yeah, it's very simple because I mean, you described nicely, really nicely, all our services, what we are doing, but basically what stands behind this, we are a nearshore Romanian-based IT service provider that is committed to deliver value to its clients and partners. We are talking about value. We are no longer talking about managed service, development, AI, and so on. It's all about value. Of course, we have 1,200 experts who are extremely knowledgeable in technology and also have a lot of functional knowledge already gained together with our clients in other countries. But what thrives us is what is a value for our customers. A value, of course, at the end, you need to pay for a value, but what is a value is depends a lot on the business model of our customers. So, for example, if we support a bank in defining and also developing a blockchain strategy, then I would say, yes, this is a high value that we deliver. And only these, we were talking about these kind of values that we want to deliver. It's no longer mandates of coding or lines of code, it's value. And we try to define what is value together with our clients and then deliver this. And of course, it's all around IT. We are native IT.
Yeah. Okay, that's a nice elevator pitch, I would say, because value is, of course, what it often comes down to at the end of any relationship. Now, in the past, people quite often associated the tech talent pools that you have across Eastern Europe with sort of cheap tech labor, if I can say that. It was sort of regarded as a way to outsource development and certain services to places like Romania, but also Ukraine, Bulgaria, and whatnot. But since then, and especially in the last decade, I would say, the region has, of course, evolved quite a lot. How do you sort of look back on the outsourcing days if you were, part of that? And do you think that was a generally positive development for Eastern Europe as a whole?
Definitely. From my point of view, stepping into the IT industry is an entry ticket for many, many of the Eastern European countries into, let's say, European economy. And that is really the most important part, keeping the talents in the country. Because, and that, again, referring to Romania, I think nearly 20 years ago, the Romanian government did something, from my point of view, really, really smart. They decided at that point of time, because they had a huge and massive brain drain, people leaving Romania because of the economical situations, going to Western European countries or even further abroad, they decided they submitted 2 laws. One law was that if you are a Romanian founder of an IT company that at least does more than 10% of revenue with a European country, then you don't need to pay corporate taxes. That, of course, was a major incentive of that time back. This has been skipped in the meantime, but out of these, let's say, taxation reliefs, you still find many, many IT companies in Romania. Plus, and this still exists here in Romania at least, if you have a technical background as an engineer and you're working in an IT company in a technical role, you don't pay income tax. So.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing, and it supports the IT industry tremendously. And it means at the same time, from a very, let's say, human point of view, talented people, they can stay here in Romania, they can found their families, they stay with their families because they can work fully remote. Of course, now with COVID, this got a further push, but they are quite competitive. And this is, from my point of view, not only a huge advantage, it was not only a huge advantage in the past, it will still be. As long as there is a gap in day rates, which of course is important, plus there is a high incentive for young talents to have a technical background, to go to one of the universities here in Romania, it's amazing. I know that the different Eastern European countries, they tackled these topics differently, but coming back to Romania, I think that this is really, really smart.
Yeah, I agree. That was quite a forward-looking way to approach this, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah, very nice. Good to know. So one term for this sort of legacy outsourcing business that I hadn't heard before preparing for this interview is a term called body leasing, which I think is horrible. But that's essentially when a company hires third-party vendors who then provide temporary staff to work on very specific projects. Nowadays, the term that we hear more often is nearshoring. We've used the term a couple of times before, but this is also what Accesa sort of is specialized in. What's the difference between those terms, body leasing, outsourcing on the one hand, and nearshoring on the other? And how can a company fit it into its own business strategy in a smart way?
I would, if you allow me, iterate these labels a little bit differently. Looking back, everything started with body leasing, that really ugly word, because companies in Germany or in other areas in Western Europe, they were just looking for cheap, as you said, cheap resources. They were not thinking about services that they wanted to buy. They just wanted to buy cheaper resources in order to fill gaps in their existing IT organization. This is what we call body leasing. Out of the body leasing, something that developed was, and this is, I'd say, more or less that the common ground right now, talking about outsourcing. Outsourcing is a different perspective. Outsourcing means you have something that you right now, as a, let's say, Belgian company, deliver on your own with your own resources, and this service or this whatever it is, little part of a value package, you source from outside. So you're no longer talking about a body that you lease or a person that is capable to do coding. You're talking about a more complex setup, which we call a service, and this is normally where you talk about outsourcing. After outsourcing, or the idea of outsourcing, you can, let's say, play around in different ways. You can talk about offshoring when these services are bought in from, let's say, India. You can go talk about nearshoring if it's closer to you, and from a European perspective, you talk about nearshoring normally as long as it is within Europe. This is due to the fact that we have some common regulations within EU, and therefore nearshoring within EU gives you, let's say, a safer legal framework for doing outsourcing, buying in services. The last iteration, and this is what I like a lot as a creation of a label, is friendshoring. I don't know if you ever heard about this,
No.
but some of our customers are talking about friendshoring also when they talk about us, because rather than just pure nearshoring, it's about creating long-lasting, trustful relationships. And a trustful relationship really means, if you can say so, that there's really a friendship between companies, or at least its actors. And because you can never fix everything with contracts. At the very end, if you talk about contracting in a nearshore relationship, it's also about trust. It's about who are the actors on both sides, and together with these actors, can we survive maybe sometimes critical situations together, because we still believe in our trustful relationship. And this is what you call friendshoring. I like this a lot. And I'm really proud that we have some of these clients with whom we work together like partners in a friendship.
Super. Well, it's definitely a term I've never heard before, but I can see why it's so appealing. Then how would you sort of summarize the long-term benefits of nearshoring or friendshoring, and in particular, how does it play to Accesa's strengths in particular?
Beside all the, let's say, little details, I don't want to bore you with the little nitty-gritty things. I think what is important is that the main benefit is that with working together with a nearshore company, you get access to a labor market that normally you would not be able to discover. Looking at my home country in Germany, with a huge scarcity of skilled IT people, extremely high salaries, and also a demographics which are not always favorable if you look about such a young industry like IT. Working together with a nearshore company like Accesa or others means that you get access to highly motivated talent pools, an average age, at least at Accesa, of 30 years, which is amazing if you compare this with other Western European companies. Very, very skilled people who know that they benefit from staying in their home countries, and they want to contribute, they want to connect also with the companies whom they work for. There is, it's about identification that you get with the company, even though it's not in your country. I think this is, this summarizes the benefit of nearshoring or friendshoring.
Fantastic. And also, just to make it more tangible, can you provide us with a couple of case studies or customer references that are helpful for the audience, maybe to understand how nearshoring can provide value across the chain?
So maybe let me start with one little general overview. So from our perspective, we divided our client groups with whom we work together into 3 areas. We are working together with financial services industry companies. We are working together with retailers, huge retailers mostly, and manufacturing, and of course some cross industries. This is what we call them. And beside the fact that, and now I'm coming to the examples, beside the fact that of course, we have running projects and so on. What I would like to emphasize are some very special occasions that those added value of a friendshoring becomes more transparent. For example, a couple of days ago, we had here 15 visitors from one of our largest clients, MediaMarktSaturn, and because we celebrated our 10 years anniversary. So already since 10 years, we are closely working together. People know each other. We have many, many people in their tribes. So we're talking about tribes working for them here. And we had an amazing hackathon. So their experts came to Cluj, our experts came to Cluj. And in this area, of course, nowadays it's all about OpenAI, how we can use OpenAI better. And we had a hackathon. So through more or less 24 hours. Our teams together, they've been working together, they came up with amazing ideas. And these ideas are now on a long list at MediaMarktSaturn, and I hope that some of them will be selected and become true or will be created soon. So I cannot tell you all the details, of course, but there are amazing ideas. Other topics, as you already mentioned, I think in the beginning, one of the hot topics right now in the IT industry is cybersecurity. And we are working closely together also with members of our, we call it family, the group that we belong to in Germany. And there we have, together also with our mother company or grandmother company, Atruvia, we have teams talking about working on cybersecurity topics, how to better defend banking infrastructure, how to do safe coding and all these kind of things. It's a huge area and not yet fully explored. And these are topics where that, let's say, the value of working together becomes more obvious. It's not because of, as you said in the beginning, body leasing. You cannot buy this expertise by buying man days. It's something that you need to arrange, and the foundation of this is the relationship that we have with your clients, or let's say partners. We don't talk about clients.
Great.
I hope this gives you some ideas on what we are doing.
No, it does, absolutely. What I'm wondering now is that are there any downsides or potential pitfalls to using nearshoring or friendshoring as a company, whether it's with Accesa or other IT partners? Are there any downsides to it?
From my point of view, if you are smart and you understand as a, for example, Western European company, how to approach nearshoring, there is no downside. The downside starts, or the risks are there, if in your organization, from a partner or client side, people are not knowledgeable enough on how to use nearshoring best. So the nearshore competency in the company that wants to do nearshoring has to be built as well. So just looking at it again, like, yes, let's purchase some cheap IT resources going back to 20 years ago, this will not help, and this is a risk that I see. It's not a downside, because nearshoring, friendshoring really offers a lot of benefit, but there is an inherent risk, and I can only advise any company that would like to do nearshoring, have some competent people also on your side to look at it from that perspective.
Do you also consider that part of Accesa's mission to sort of educate potential clients and partners on how nearshoring works on their side?
I am kind of an ambassador of this, yes, because in my role here, I think I better understood what works, what does not work. I think I combine both perspectives, also with my professional background, having worked for huge Western European companies already. So yes, I really try to be an ambassador and an evangelist a little bit, and trying to make this better. By the way, we also offer some consultancy, but only if asked for. So we are not pushing this too much, because I think it's a question of maturity of our partners in other countries to decide, when are we ready to do nearshoring. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, understood. You've explained very well this sort of evolution from pure body leasing to outsourcing, nearshoring, and now friendshoring. What's the next step? Like, what comes after, or what will Accesa look like, let's say, in 5-10 years from now?
Well, first of all, good question. I think they will grow a lot. They're not only, but also because of COVID, there's still such a push on digitalisation that it's all about growth. What we see as an evolution is what I mentioned in the beginning. It's about value. An IT provider that sticks with selling FTE, do body leasing will no longer exist in the future. So the next step in the evolution is this is at least how we embrace it, to really look at the customer, try to build an organization as a nearshore provider that fully fits and integrates into the value chain of the customer. So there is no longer the question, do we do nearshoring or not? It's about, okay, we have mixed teams, and some of the members are in Romania, Bulgaria, in Poland, or wherever, and some of them are in Germany, in France, in Belgium. It will be the new normal. And this is what I see. So it's more bringing smart teams together, and no longer talking about nearshoring. Even friendshoring might pass away. It's about the competence of each company to bring together the most talented, capable people and work in successful teams. this is what will happen in the next future, and we are happy to support this, of course.
Super interesting. Do you have any final learnings to share before we wrap up the discussion? Things you've learned from your time at Accesa, or maybe just things that you've learned over the last 10, 20 years of your career that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes, I think there are two things. From the perspective of companies who would like to test friendshoring, nearshoring, I would say go and visit the company. Don't do it fully remote. Come, meet the people, understand a little bit the difference in culture, and then do the next step. It really makes sense. And from my personal perspective, I can only advise everyone to visit Eastern Europe. It is way more developed, technically developed, as you can imagine, because of these latest trends. And personally, I would say whoever was here, he will come back again. And I highly advise to also really visit those countries. It's an enrichment of the European culture that maybe have not yet seen so often.
That is fantastic advice to end on. I'll come to Sofia in Bulgaria in 10 days from now, just to follow your advice.
So if you're in Cluj, let drop by, please. Let's have a coffee together.
That's fantastic. I will take you up on that if I go back to Cluj. Andrea, thank you so much for your time explaining a little bit more about nearshoring, introducing me to the term friendshoring. Super interesting. And also for us to get to know Accesa a little bit better. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Robin, for your time. See you then in Cluj. Bye.
See you.